Our agenda today will consist of how standard templates can be used for consistency, how project stages can control features in OpenAir, how you can put controls in place using form permissions, filter sets, and expense report policies, how project status reports can provide updates for project managers and clients, and how alerts and notifications can save time on identifying issues. Consistency. Getting consistent results with project delivery requires the consistent use of project management methods and tools by every project team in your organization. Establishing consistency requires proper planning and effort by PMOs. So we feel that using OpenAir as your project management tool, you can provide project teams with easy-to-use project management tools and templates that will ensure consistency of project management and hopefully get consistent results. We're going to start off with project templates. Templates are a predefined project structure that you can use to simplify project creation by having employees copy the template when creating a new project instead of creating the project from scratch. So what that does is it streamlines the setup process and standardizes the task and phase structure for reporting, which helps maintain consistency. Also allow you to define key baseline criteria for projects, which saves time, maintains consistency, and increases productivity, which provides oversight into the delivery of your projects. We recommend creating a separate stage called templates, which you can store the dedicated project templates in. So when you create your dedicated templates, you can create specific templates to your offerings as seen in this slide. So within each of these specific templates can be specific phases and tasks that support the type of project being performed. So by default, all projects are available for copying. So in order to limit the number of projects that can be duplicated, you can create a custom checkbox field and associate it with the templates. We suggest a display name such as you see here called Available for Project Duplication. And after you create that custom field, you select the checkbox to designate that this is a template that can be duplicated. Then only those projects and templates with this checkbox selected are available to be duplicated, which controls consistency across project structures. So once the templates are created, you can then take the option to select New from Another Project and duplicate the phases and tasks from that project template. You can then update information by entering the project name, selecting the customer, changing the project stage from template to whatever stage it belongs in, and adjusting the start date. You can also select what components of a project you want to duplicate by checking the boxes as you see here. So you may want to check billing rules, recognition, expense policy. You may not care about carrying over issues, etc. It's customizable. And then once that project is created, you can go in and modify any billing rule details or any other project-specific information that is unique to that new project you created. The next I'm going to talk about is project stages. Now, project stages help classify projects based on your company's needs. So, for example, you may create stages similar to that you see here called pipeline, requirements, configuration, active, closed, lost, internal, whatever aligns with your business needs. And after you've created the stages, you can assign individual projects to the appropriate stage on the project properties page. So for example, pipeline stage could identify projects that have not started and do not have signed contracts. Active could be projects that have signed paperwork and are being worked on by your resources. Internally usually represents projects that you want to just track time and expenses. They're not client related, they're not billable, such as training, documentation, PTO, things of that nature. Projects are currently displayed horizontally as sub-tabs under the Project tab. And when you click on one of the project stages, the projects in that stage are displayed below it. And at the end of the list is a stage named All. And when you click on the All link, it displays all of the projects regardless of the stage that they are in. So many features exist within the project's application for each project, and when creating a project stage, you can activate certain features related to your business and the particular stage of the project. So for example, you may want to have billing and recognition options available for projects that are in an active stage, but not for projects that are in the internal stage. And below you can see the options that are available that you can configure for each project stage. There's also something that we'll talk about later on in the presentation, is that there are project stage email notifications that you can set up, that when a project moves from stage to stage, you can notify employees or managers, letting them know that that project has moved to a different stage, which I'll demonstrate later on in the presentation. Another use where project stages can be useful is that they can also control the use of straight line forecasting. So straight line projections you can create by using start and end dates and budget amounts, and just spread those dollars out between the dates. And it's typically configured at the project stage that would be proposed or pipeline, because that generally has limited project or resource data ready available. And you can dedicate one of those stages and say that everything in this stage is straight line forecasting, and everything in the other stages would use charge projections. So if you're bringing pipeline forecasting into OpenAir, as you win the work, you can move them to the other stages, which changes how they would be running their projections. So the way to get that set up is that you create a custom field as shown here, and it can be a checkbox with straight line projections, and that is what would trigger that functionality. Okay, form permissions. You can modify the visible information on any given form, and it can be a very powerful tool in the system. It can be as simple as role-based permissions, or it can be more complex with permission rules. Now you can access the form permissions via the dialog box on the left-hand side. And if that form has the option to modify the form permissions, when you click the dialog box, you will see the Modify Forms Permission link, and you can click on Modify, and this form will appear. So what permission rules do is they allow administrators to conditionally control which fields they capture on entity forms. So selection of field values can dynamically control other fields on the form, and you can apply this functionality to standard or custom fields. So it can be applied to standard fields that are inherent in the system, like project name or owner or client, and it can be also applied to any custom fields that you add to the system. You know, project type, employee type, things that are not inherent to the system. And when the field is selected on the form, it will prompt an action. And the actions that you're able to do are required, which marks the selected field as required, which means the form cannot be saved until this field is completed. Read only, which marks the field as read only, and means that the field can only be read by the user. It cannot be changed in any way. Or hide, which will hide the selected field and clear any value, and it will not show up on the form. So permission rules is a more complex setup utilizing if-then statements. So it will template those forms and tailor them to a typical role. And you can limit that by many different values. So for example, if you only wanted to limit a certain user to be able to see certain fields on a form, you can set up a rule just like this. If it's something you want to use, in this case was an offering for business efficiency assessment, and they wanted to hide certain fields, you would pick the fields that you want to hide, move them over to here, and save the rule. And that can limit values or make certain set of information available accordingly. So another great tool for controlling consistency and limiting access are filter sets. A filter set provides access privileges to users based on their role in the organization. Filter sets can limit access to customers, projects, services, users, expense items, charge stages, and project stages. Filter sets are a powerful tool. They allow users to see the same entities, but customize the data that is accessible. So therefore limiting what data a user can see within the system. So you create filter sets under the global settings. And a couple of examples that we recommend using one is an all-access filter set that would work for an administrator or a project manager, which would allow them to view all customers, all projects, all user, all data. Another very popular one is booked assigned filter set, which when assigned to users, it limits the access to only the projects that they are booked or assigned to. And another one that we recommend is called My Team, and it will limit access to a project manager, for example, only providing access to the teams that report to them. Now, this filter set works very well with reporting. You can create one report for your project managers, add the My Team filter set, share that report with all of the project managers, and when each project manager runs that report, the only data that they're going to view is their team's data. So once the filter set is created, there is an access control tab which defines the level of access that's granted to the assigned employees. So access control can be set for all of these areas, and it can limit the views for all of these areas. So for example, if you wanted a project manager filter set like we talked about, and access, you would change the access to all projects to either specific projects, projects that just report to them, projects that are in a certain stage, if you want to limit somebody to only seeing active projects, or just internal projects, same with different users. So after the filter set has been created, you've designated the access, you can now choose which employees will have access to that filter set and have it available to be added to their employee record. So it is added to the filter set links within the employee record, and employees with an asterisk after their name cannot be removed from the assignment, as this is the only filter set in their account, which is the primary filter set. And employees must have at least one filter set assigned to their employee record. Employees can have more than one filter set, which allows them to switch filter sets to view different types of data. There may be an example wherein a manager may be primarily responsible for the Eastern region, but due to somebody leaving the company, they may also need to take over the responsibility of another region. And using a filter set would allow the manager to view each region individually and at one time. So what you want to remember is that filter sets are what data the employee has access to in the system. Here's the view of the employee demographic form. Here's where you would set the primary filter set. And then on the filter set tab in the employee profile is where you would add additional filter sets if needed. Okay, expenses. Expenses can be used to generate travel expenses that are associated to projects. And as expense receipts are created in OpenAir, that cost goes against the project immediately. You can also associate receipts at a more detailed level associated to tasks. And something to remember is that many organizations bill and or pay their expenses per diem. So if you're paying actual reimbursements but billing per diem, the actual reimbursement piece is the expense that hits the project. So you may be losing revenue if you're doing per diem billing back to the customer. So there is a expense policy feature, which is an internal switch. And when it is enabled, users will not be able to select an expense item on a per project basis. So if a policy has been put in place at the project level, restricting an expense type or capping a dollar amount, that can be defined at the Properties tab of each project. So in this example, you see that we are limiting users on this project to entering an expense against the project for airfare no higher than $250. So this feature maintains control, prevents time spent on rejecting and correcting expenses, and delaying the invoicing process. So another feature we want to talk about today is project status summaries. So project status summaries summarizes important project progress data. It's something that can be used internally, share with your project managers, or externally to your clients. It is a global setting, meaning that it cannot be customized per project. Whatever format is set for all projects across the system. It is a feature that needs to be enabled by support, and once it's enabled, you then need to assign viewer edit permissions by role. The available role settings that you need to consider are View Project Status Page and View and Modify Project Status Page. So there are three ways to find the project status summaries. In the Quick View feature, that is either listed here as Status Summary or this icon in the upper right-hand corner. Or if you click on a project, next to the project name, you'll have that same icon that you can click on. So to customize the summaries, you click on the Options icon, which is located on the left side, and you can click Edit to open an editable version. So from here, you can add, edit, or delete portlets, as well as change the location by shifting them around. The types of portlets that you are able to add are booking, project, task, charge, and issue. When you're ready to add a new portlet, you can click on the plus icon to do that. So first portlet that you can add is a header, project header portlet, which can hold basic information about the project, such as project name, project owner, project stage, start, finish dates, go live dates, etc. It's completely customizable by you based on whatever information you think you want to share, either with your project managers or your customers. So below the header, you can add a series of customizable portlets which show information on tasks, task assignments, bookings, issues and risks, milestones, budget status, and many other project-related information. You can also pull in a project status message, which can be entered in a text box within the project properties form. You can make these individual portlets hidden or visible based on clicking the icons that appear in the top of the portlets. And then within the portlets, you can then add items. So to add an item to the portlet, you're going to click the plus sign, and you're going to enter a title for the field, or you can use the default title. You'll then select an optional footnote for the field. Now, footnotes can contain data from a data source, which means it's pulling directly from the project itself. or it can be a custom footnote where you can type in something that you want to specifically say. You can select if it is visible in the client view, and you can limit the view based on the particular roles. So after you have set up your format, pulled in your data, you can then print the status summary form. It's only a print in a PDF. It is not something that is downloaded. So you can print it, save it, and send it out to your team or to your customers. Okay, and our last topics are going to be alerts and notifications. So communicating consistent information to your staff is an effective way to get the work done quickly and consistently. So for example, as you can see here, you can create a budget alert, which can notify a user based on certain criteria. You can configure it to run every day and send an alert when approved hours reach 90% of the budgeted hours. This alert applies to all active projects, and an email is usually sent to the project owner. So alerts allow automated email reminders to be sent to ensure business needs are met, and you can find this in the project application form. You can also customize these alerts to be filtered by projects, by stages, and by owners, and they can exclude certain types of charges, as seen here. Some other type of alerts we like to recommend are timesheet alerts. Administrators can create timesheet alerts to notify their employees if their timesheet is late, to notify their managers that their approval of timesheets is overdue, and alert employees that a timesheet has not been saved. So notifications, they can be created when certain conditions are met, such as a project stage changes, projects are modified, project owner changes, or many other custom notifications. So when a project stage changes from a pending stage to an active stage, and you want to notify a project owner or a particular person to let them know the project is ready to kick off and begin work, it's an automated notification that comes through the system. Another notification that's very useful is a booking notification. If you want to notify the team members that they have been booked to a project, or a manager that a resource has been assigned, you can create a booking notification. So in the example here, this is a project stage email notification. So you would check the desired checkboxes, which is changed to this project stage, and when changes are created with this project stage, you select what users you want to notify, and you save the form, and that notification is then ready to go. So in summary, getting consistent results with project delivery requires consistent use of project management methods and tools. We think using OpenAir as your project management tool will provide project teams with easy-to-use project management tools and templates, and that will ensure consistency of project management.